Our next story is, well, stop me if you've heard this one before. Someone decides they'd like to hold an event in a library, a public library in Montreal in English, and they're told, oh, no, on peut pas. And then a whole sort of happening breaks out. Provincial government has to weigh in, municipal government has to weigh in. We did this story a couple of months back, remember? Well, it's happened again. This time, no comment from the provincial government. Maybe that's because of the holiday, but I'll tell you what the municipal government's talking about. Maria Caltabiano is on the line. She's a Montreal author, and she was told she could not hold an English book reading in a library, in a public library here due to Quebec language law. She's on the line. Maria, thanks for taking the minute.
Hi, Ran. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So explain to everyone, if you would. First of all, when I say author, so this was going to be to read your own works?
Well, it was going to be my own work and other, I was planning to invite other fellow poets, since I've done something like that in a few of the English language bookstores in Montreal.
Okay.
So I was going to invite them as well. And when I was told no, it was like, it was shocking, to say the least. A whole bunch of emotions. I was angry. I was sad. I felt rejected.
Okay,
And
so Maria, let me go
citizen.
back to the beginning here. So first of all, what part of town is this in?
Montreal North.
Okay, so you're going to the library out where you live. This is in your area, right?
Right.
And you say, and do they know you there? Any idea? Had they ever seen you there before?
No, the initial contact was because I had offered them to put my book, if they wanted to purchase my book from the publisher.
Okay.
And they had accepted. So I was happy, and I went there and spoke to the librarian. And on the spot, I asked her if, since they would be carrying my book, if I would be able to give a reading and invite other authors as well.
Is that a reasonable demand?
I think so.
Okay, no, I don't know. I'm asking. So they're going to carry your book, and you're you're sort of going the extra mile. Since you're going to carry my book, how about if we do a reading here
to introduce
people to it? Okay.
I thought it was reasonable.
Yeah.
And I thought, quite.
So what happens
quite
next?
natural.
Now, by the way, this is a book of poetry we're talking about, right?
Yes, it's a book of poetry.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happens? You go and you ask, and what are you told?
And she said no, just simply no. And I was taken aback, and I said, why not? And she cited Bill 96. And then I continued, and I said, well, why is it so restrictive? I never would have thought that in a public library it would apply. And she said, no, we must protect the French language.
Wow.
And I ventured, I said, in Paris they probably hold English readings. And she said, well, here we're in a sea of English, and we cannot allow it.
So this is one, let's call her overzealous employee telling you what Bill 96 is all about, and that, sorry, you can't hold your event here. That's just the way it is. Too bad, so sad.
Yeah, she said that her hands were tied. She said that the government had tied their hands. Mm-hmm. She invited me to read the law, the Bill 96, which I haven't had the time to do yet.
Was she aware, or were you aware of this same story having happened a couple of months prior?
Yes, I was aware of that. I don't know if she was. At the moment, I was so stunned that it didn't come to mind. But I was, Christopher Dirado had the same experience. And he was told it was a mistake. And in my mind, I'm saying, well, how many times are we going to be told, it's a mistake? This is already the second time. And how many of these go unreported? I'm wondering. Not everybody is going to feel angry enough or have the time or inclination to go to the media.
And what has happened since? Because now this story has gone public. Have you had a reaction? Have you heard back from anyone?
No, I haven't heard back from anyone. I was just told that the city said it was a mistake.
So, but wait, so the city did? Yeah, I reached out to Jimmy Zubris, right, who's a special contact for the mayor.
Yeah.
Who said when the services found out, so this is library services, this is not the city itself. When they found out, it says they corrected it immediately. And then they asked that a clear directive be sent out this week. They said, I believe the employee of the borough asked if the translation would be available. And since it's poetry, that was not going to work. That's, I guess, would have been almost impossible.
Yeah.
So you have not heard from anyone else, and you've not been back to the library since to ask?
No, I figured I would take a few days, and I kind of feel uncomfortable going there and speaking with the librarian again. I don't know why I should feel uncomfortable. I just do. I almost feel like I've done something wrong by going to the media and exposing the mistake.
Well, no, you've done the right thing. This is how it was exposed the first time. And to what you said earlier on, you would have thought, you mentioned Christopher Dorado, you would have thought after that, something like this couldn't happen again.
That's right. And I'm hoping that, that it will never happen again. But how will we know? Do we know if the city has sent out, I don't know, memos to all the libraries in Montreal? Who knows?
I'm trying to also establish, now you mentioned, we said this is about poetry and the translation would be different. But in the case of just a simple book reading, which is what the first incident was all about, right, whether you're now allowed to do that or not after what happened the first time, basically we don't have a clarification on that. Waiting to hear back from the city, my understanding is because today's a holiday, we're not going to be able to hear from anyone. But maybe by tomorrow there'll be some kind of an answer. If the answer is yes, will you go back and do this?
Yes, of course. Okay. I will feel a little bit. I will still feel a little bit awkward. It will only be half-hearted in a way. I am happy that this has been corrected, and hopefully, if any other future English language writers approach them, that they'll know what to do. But I'm mostly concerned, that the municipal government and the provincial government should get their act together and clarify whatever is unclear that is causing us this confusion.
By the way, so my understanding again is that when the provincial government was asked for comment, there was none. I'm going to say that's I shouldn't say this, but it's not surprising. This comes on a holiday weekend. Hopefully we'll get a comment from them tomorrow, because the last time I believe we had the language minister weigh in saying that it was a misinterpretation, that not how it should have been. And I think the mayor said the same thing, right? This was, again, an overzealous employee deciding that they'll be the ones to define Bill 96, when in fact it doesn't necessarily need to be defined that way in this particular case.
I just feel that sometimes this employee was just made, was just a scapegoat. She was very nice. She was very eloquent, and she was just explaining how her hands were tied in the situation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they shouldn't have been. I mean, again, the statement is, and I saw the CTV story here, the city says it was an honest mistake by the employee, adding that Bill 96 is, quote, complex.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. It's not complex. If you want to have an event in an English library, that you can have an event, or in a public library in English, then you can have that event.
That's right. I don't know, what's so complex about that. Just tell the libraries, if somebody that writes in English wants to hold an event, they're okay. They can do it.
Going to find out tomorrow if we can. Once this holiday's over, people get back to work, try to get some more information on this. And if we do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I look forward to it because it's really bothersome, and there was not only for me; it's for all the other poets that I would like to have and at the event, and hopefully it will happen.
So before I let you go, I'm going to run out of time. Let everybody know. Might as well give you a plug. What is the book called? Where is it available?
Yes, it's called Drawing Daybreak, and it's available through the Guernica website, Guernica Editions.
That's it.
It was published in 2021, and it's a book of poetry which I wrote after my husband passed away. It deals with loss, establishing oneself in life, and just moving on and coping with grief.
Again, the title is?
Drawing Daybreak.
By Maria Caltabiano. Maria, I thank you so much, and we will keep you on top of what happens next. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.